I'm Tom McAuliffe for Out and About TV. Welcome to this special report. Politics and RVs. Many RV channels deliberately avoid politics, and understandably so. Nobody wants every discussion about camping to devolve into partisan bickering. Out and About TV is not interested in telling viewers which party to support or which candidate deserves your vote. But we will discuss public policy when it directly affects two things. One, public access to our public lands, and two, recreational vehicles. Those two issues are just too vitally important to ignore simply because politicians don't know how to act like adults and happen to be involved. There is also one public safety issue that Congress and state governments can no longer afford to overlook: driver training for the largest motor coaches. In many states, someone can walk into a dealership, write a check for $300,000, and drive away in a rig the size of a Greyhound bus, weighing upwards of 20,000 pounds, hurtling down the highway at 65 miles per hour with absolutely no training. This has got to change. Out and About TV believes anyone operating a motor coach longer than 30 feet and weighing more than 20 tons, 15 tons, or more should complete a mandatory safety and driver training program. And manufacturers should be forced to provide those, or dealerships. Now, that does not necessarily require a commercial driver's license. We're not talking about that. We're talking about providing the new RV owner and driver a modicum of safety information and some basic information about how to safely move their rig on our nation's highways. Commercial bus drivers have got to prove that they can safely operate the equipment of that size. Doesn't the traveling public deserve some reasonable assurances that the person driving a comparable motor coach can do the same and has the same skill set? Politics and RVs. That may sound like two subjects that should be kept as far apart as possible, perhaps in separate campgrounds on opposite sides of the country. But whether we like it or not, decisions made in Washington, D.C. can affect what we pay for an RV, whether a dealer can afford to keep one on the lot, how manufacturers respond to safety problems and recalls, and even the condition of roads, campgrounds, water systems, and electrical hookups that we use on America's public lands. This is not about Republican or Democrat, and it's certainly not about telling anyone how to vote. It's about knowing what Congress and the administration are doing and understanding how those decisions can eventually reach all the way from Capitol Hill to your campsite. Let's begin with a rare piece of good news: the Travel Trailer and Camper Tax Parity Act. For years, an error in the federal tax code treated motorhomes and trailers differently. RV dealers frequently borrow money through what is known as floor plan financing. And in plain English, that is the money a dealership borrows to put inventory on its sales lot. The longer an RV sits there waiting for a buyer, the longer the dealer pays interest on that borrowed money. Motorhome dealers could fully deduct that interest, while qualifying dealers carry travel trailers and campers facing elimination. This was no small technicality, because towable RVs represent the overwhelming majority of RVs sold in America. Trailers. Republican Congressman Rudy Youngkin of Indiana and Democratic Congresswoman Dina Titus of Nevada led the House effort to fix the problem. In the Senate, the cause was championed by Republican Senators Joni Ernst and Todd Young, as well as independent Senator Angus King from Maine. The correction was ultimately incorporated into the major federal tax legislation enacted in July of 2025. It applies beginning with the 2025 tax year and restores equal treatment RV dealer floor plans interest on qualifying towable RV inventory. That's a mouthful. That's an important bipartisan victory, though. But remember, it concerns only dealer financing. It does not give an individual RV buyer a deduction for the interest on a personal RV loan. That needs to come next. And that brings us to the next battle shaping up right now in Congress. Congress coming back from its fall recess. An important legislation is called the No Tax on RV Loans Act, House Bill number 8672 and Senate Bill number 4653. The No Tax on RV Loans Act. The current federal vehicle loan provision permits eligible taxpayers to deduct as much as $10,000 a year of interest on a loan for certain newly purchased American-made vehicles. But travel trailers and many larger RVs were excluded from the language in the final version of the bill. The new proposed RV loan legislation would explicitly include qualifying travel trailers, fifth wheels, motorhomes, truck campers, and other recreational vehicles. If enacted, it could reduce the effective cost of financing for American-made RVs, and that'll really help eligible working and middle-income buyers. The RV industry is a huge driver in the American economy and deserves support and for government to get out of the way. At the same time, it's obvious with all of the quality and warranty problems that have occurred over the past 5 to 10 years that some government oversight is needed. The proposed RV loan legislation remains just a proposal, not a promise. And the final language, income limits, manufacturing requirements, and effective dates would all matter. Never purchase an RV based on an anticipated tax deduction. Verify the law that's in effect when you purchase, and always talk with a qualified tax professional. Affordability has become an urgent issue in the American economy. The RV market is no different. It's experienced a serious contraction. Through the first half of 2026, wholesale RV shipments were down more than 14% compared with the previous year. Towable shipments were down nearly 17%. Travel trailers were down more than 16%. And fifth wheel shipments were down almost 20%. Retail registrations also recorded sharp year-over-year declines during the spring. We'll have the ending year numbers for you shortly. Now, this is not the worst year in the entire history of the RV industry, but it's damn close. The Great Recession, though, produced considerably lower shipment totals. The Great Recession period back in the 80s produced considerably lower shipment totals, but there's no doubt that this year is difficult. Manufacturers are slowing production. Indiana factory communities are feeling the pressure. Dealers are being very cautious about ordering inventory for 2027 and 2028. And most of all, consumers are hesitant and are facing high interest rates, inflation, and of course, the continuing concern about RV quality and workmanship. Add to that the gas prices. Perhaps the most revealing comment I have heard came from an aide in Florida Senator Rick Scott's office. She said this: "Want to know when things in the RV industry are going to change, Tom? As soon as a senator, congressman, or a member of their family has a bad experience with a recreational vehicle, things will change in a hurry." Now, this was not a formal statement from Senator Scott, but I think it's a brutally perceptive observation. For decades, consumers have complained about defective units, weak warranties, month-long repair delays, unavailable parts, manufacturers and dealers blaming one another, and yet those problems rarely receive sustained attention in Washington until they affect someone with political influence. Sad but true. Perhaps the current downturn will finally force elected officials, manufacturers, and dealers to confront a truth RV owners already understand. An industry cannot build long-term prosperity by selling customers an expensive dream and then abandoning them when that dream needs repairs. The next major political issue involves places where we use our RVs. The Great American Outdoors Act, signed into law in 2020, created the National Parks and Public Land Legacy Restoration Fund. The fund helps address deferred maintenance in national parks, forests, and other federal recreation areas. And there's a lot of deferred maintenance. Some estimate as much as $9 billion. Everything from deteriorating roads and unsafe bridges to aging restrooms and showers, leaking sewer systems, water lines, and the general state of our campgrounds. Congress is now considering legislation to continue the investment of the Great American Outdoors Act. The Senate proposal is called America the Beautiful Act and is Senate Bill number 1547. A related House measure is House Bill number 9250, known as the Great American Outdoors Act 2050. 2025. Both measures have attracted substantial bipartisan support and have advanced through their committees, but neither has yet become law until the House and Senate approve identical language and the president signs it. You understand that they put a bill through the procedure in the House and come up with a final version, and then they do the same thing in the Senate, and then they rectify the two of them. For RV travelers, this is not an abstract conversation or debate. The previous Legacy Restoration Fund projects have rehabilitated campgrounds across America, the Rocky Mountains, Zion, Yosemite National Parks, did a whole bunch of work. And that work's included improving the roads, better parking and RV pads, more secure drinking water systems, better dump stations. At Moraine Park Campground in the Rocky Mountains National Park, rehabilitation included extending electrical service to approximately 60 new RV campsites. In Missouri's Mark Twain National Forest, projects added electrical hookups, a huge dump station, a shower house. These are practical improvements that RVers can see and use. They're not in the abstract. According to reports, the National Park Service, as I said, has more than $9 billion in deferred maintenance projects stretching back to the early 1980s. Another measure worth watching is the Cleaner Trails Initiative, and that is Senate Bill number 5222. Trails stands for Cleaner Transportation at Recreational Areas to Improve Our Landmarks and Sites, an acronym. The proposal would support zero-emission vehicle charging, alternative fuel infrastructure in national parks, national forests, and related federal recreation areas. That may not seem immediately relevant, but if you tow with a conventional gasoline or diesel truck, now this may not seem immediately relevant if you tow with a gasoline or diesel truck, but transportation technology is changing, and public recreation areas will eventually have to accommodate electric cars in some fashion. Plug-in hybrids are becoming more popular, more electric tow vehicles. How are they going to accommodate these vehicles? These are fair questions to ask. How much will it cost? Who's going to pay for it? Can remote parks receive enough electrical power? And will money for new technologies supplement, not replace, basic needs such as safe roads, clean restrooms, potable water, dump stations, and dependable campground electricity? Those are not anti-technology questions. They are reasonable, responsible questions about priorities and execution. The administration is also reconsidering regulations that directly affect diesel motorhomes. The Environmental Protection Agency has proposed changes to the rules governing selective catalytic reduction systems and diesel exhaust fluids. Under existing requirements, a DEF sensor failure or emission system problem can force a diesel engine into reduced power or worse. The EPA is considering greater reliance on improved diagnostics and strong and visual audio warnings with less dependence on automatic engine power reduction. If properly designed, the changes could mean fewer diesel motorhomes being unexpectedly crippled on the side of the road. So what should the average RVer do with all this? Couple things. First, pay attention to the actual language and status of the legislation, not merely the social media headline. A bill being introduced does not mean it has passed. Committee approval does not make it a law. And a catchy title does not always tell you who receives the benefit. Number two, contact your representatives and senators when an issue affects RV affordability, consumer protection, warranty accountability, vehicle safety, or access to our public lands. Having worked in politics for many, many years, ran 3 state campaigns, and have worked in Washington, I can tell you that your calls and emails and letters do matter, and they are read. We had Congresswoman's office. We had 3 people whose only gig was reading the letters and responding to them. So it does matter. So contact your representatives. They work for you. You don't need to be a lobbyist. Just a short, respectful message explaining how a problem has personally affected you can be far more important and impactful than an angry form letter. Finally, remember that the RV lifestyle is connected to a much larger economic chain: manufacturers, dealers, third-party add-on manufacturers for products, campgrounds, repair shops, restaurants, fuel stations, state parks, national parks, and thousands of small communities that basically depend on the RV community. Politics may not be the reason we go camping. In fact, many of us go camping to escape the politics. But public policy helps determine whether an RV remains affordable, whether its manufacturer must answer for production mistakes and safety defects, whether a customer receives a meaningful warranty service, and whether the campground waiting at the end of the road is open, safe, and usable. We do not have to turn the campground into a political convention. We simply need to remain informed, ask intelligent questions, demand accountability, and remind elected officials on both sides of the aisle that America's RVers are paying attention. We have issues that affect us and matter to us, and we vote. Because sometimes the road from Washington, D.C. really does lead straight to your campsite. Please call your senators and representatives and make your feelings known. Their contact information is on the screen. And don't forget to vote. I'm Tom for Out and About TV.